Okay, good morning. I'm an artist who works with EEG technologies. I've been doing this for about 22 years, and I've also worked as a neurofeedback therapist for 3 years in London. And I've been coming to Breaking Convention since the first one in Canterbury 6 years ago. So it's an honor to be talking at this one. My paper that I'm going to be giving you some excerpts from, this is the title if you want to download this. So I'll be giving you an insight into neurophysiological research into hallucinations that were named Flicker. And my title is to do with the drugless high, so I'll be looking at altered states through light stimulation and comparing it to some of the entoptic, eidetic, and hallucinations reported through research into psychedelics. So the term entoptic comes from the Greek for within vision, and it actually occurs between the eye and the neural cortex itself. And this is similar to research in psychedelics, which was discovered in 1823 by Jan Perkenja. By waving his fingers across the sunlight, he could experience colors through his closed eyelids. He observed various patterns such as crosses and stars and spirals. And these visual experiences were produced purely in his visual cortex with no other entheogenic substances involved. So he was really interested in external psychovisual stimulate, and so am I. So my work as an artist involves a lot of stroboscopic lighting. Some of you may be familiar with the current dynamic wellness lamp named Lucia. I work with the Pandora Star, which is a similar lamp with different software, which allows you to drive different brainwave frequencies through your eyes being closed through photic-entrainment. So all the sort of patterns my guests and participants in the artwork experience are similar to the psychedelic research, these form constants of spirals and Catherine wheels, lattices. And these have also been annotated by Kluver when he was studying the effects of mescaline. So also informing the research is, of course, Hermann von Helmholtz and his physiological optics. He called these the shadow patterns, and I'm looking at his theories of vision. So my work normally involves the construction of a dream machine in every installation that I create, and if you've not seen one before, this is a 1960s recreation by myself, iconic dream machine. It's a spinning cylinder with a light inside that sits on top of a record player, and with your eyes closed, by sitting really close, the flicker rate you receive across your closed eyelids is approximately between 8 and 12 hertz, that's cycles a second, and you start to enter into a very light alpha state. What I found through my artistic research, where I measured the EEG during the experience, that people who combine breathing exercises and who have practiced any form of meditation can actually go deeper and lower in the EEG signal into a more theta wave state, and it can become quite profound. And they, of course, experience entoptic phenomena, eidetic, where they actually see bizarre scenes like horses on top of mountains or a log dressed up in a pink dress. These were some of the recent stories I had, as well as the little sketches I get left as well as part of the interview and the artwork. So here is the main artist who's associated with Dreamachines, is Brian Geisen. And we recently celebrated 100 years of his existence. He's no longer with us on this level. So he wanted to recreate a device that would allow him to enter into that kind of flickering sunlight, transcendental storm of color he received when he was on a coach in Marseille, and he sort of found his mind wandered, time shifted, a long journey became a lot shorter. It's almost like a light hypnotic trance, very much. This is the theta state. This is the kind of light relaxation but hypnagogic state. So he put his heads together with some of the other heads in the Beat Hotel, and he came back and he spoke to Ian Somerville, a mathematician in Cambridge, and he asked him to help construct a device that would do this at home without any substances, and they created a dream machine. And the photographer who took that very picture just now is still alive. In fact, he just has an exhibition right now in Deal. He's 90. This is Harold Chapman. So I've done some research with Harold, visited him several times as an artist and researcher. It's what I love doing. And here he is recounting some of the stories. Looks like he's got a movie camera there, but we're talking about how Brian once built a huge dream machine for an art gallery in Paris. And his work is currently on show, as I said, in Deal. This is an image from my recent artwork. There's a participant in a dentist chair. Across their head, they have an EEG sensor, and behind them, projected on this rather hallucinatory wallpaper, is the beginning of the EEG waves. So we're seeing what's going on behind their quiet presence. And in their face is shining a Pandora-style lamp. This is what it looks like from the receiving side. You have a dream machine in this corner, spinning already, setting the room. You have Pandora star flashing incredibly dynamically, but I chose theta wave program again, so it was very gentle on the general public. I'm not there to try and scare anybody. I want to gently let them experience eidetic, entoptic, and hallucinations for themselves, and then I interview them. So some people report back these kind of patterns, and these are similar to Shipibo from Peru patterns, and again, we can see the similarities, these colors coming through. These hallucinations and these patterns that are occurring in the neural cortex are very similar to what people experience just through the lights that I use. And these are experienced through, these are non-linear artifacts of ayahuasca hallucinations, and these people weave them. So there's an artistic output as well as an experiential one. So in the Royal Academy, I entertain people with watching each other's brainwaves be projected, and the most common shared theme was the complete loss of time. People would leave the chair and experience, and they'd ask me, was that just a few minutes? I said, no, that was 12 minutes. And then we would ask them and interview them for what sort of things they saw, and we would write this down. And then I was looking at the research by Lewis, Williams and Dowson, and how you can kind of categorize these into even a more sort of detailed grid of common geometric forms. So we've got grids, lines, dots, zigzags, catenary curves and filigrees. So this is an old slide, but we were interviewing people in an art performance, and they started to draw these patterns, and people always say, oh, I can't draw. But as soon as you ask them to draw just something a bit more raw, these sort of drawings I'll show you in the next slide start to come out. So these are made from flicker phosphenes created by the stroboscopic lights that I employ in my artwork. Some people have experienced them maybe in mind machines where you wear those little portable glasses with maybe headphones and you can do it on an airplane or whatever. I've been using those, but I prefer these kind of open devices where you can adjust the proximity physically with your own face, and you can really experience a great deal of dynamic brightness within them. So again, these clover leaf patterns, in the low frequencies, people mainly reported webs and spirals and clover leaves. So anything flashing between 1 and 4 times a second. So that would be kind of delta range frequencies. Then if we ramped it up to around 4 to 9 hertz, so that's the theta sort of range, people started describing more grids and checkerboards. And you can actually see their face changing colour a bit in the stroboscopic light. It goes a bit green. And then anything faster, it's sort of, from the outside, it appears to go a little violet, but flicker frequencies sort of between 9 and 16, more checkerboards, but kind of stories. And we also noticed that the flicker phosphenes have a slow lateral drift at lower frequencies. They have a rotational drift at medium frequencies, which is really lovely. You get this kind of layering going on inside your closed eyes. And some of the sketches people produced, they were all very enthusiastic. Some people describing auras. I don't know if they were working with energy bodies before, but they certainly did whilst they experienced the flashing lights in the artwork that I gave them. Some people said it was similar to an LSD experience. So this is myself connecting the electrodes to the forehead of a participant. It's very easy. I work with the public. There has to be a simple way of applying the EEG without using caps and gels and creams. So I find the prefrontal lobes very good. Everyone's hairless there. Good amount of information from there. Their concentration, relaxation, and potential sleep can be recorded from there. So if anyone falls asleep in the artwork, we're watching them. This is a glimpse of the data. I'll show you something at the end. So my visual analysis are these 3-dimensional moving mountains, and along the x-axis, the frequency bandwidths are broken up into delta, theta, alpha, all the betas, and then gamma, anything above 30. And it's not quite symmetrical, but the left and right side of the person, exactly as we're looking at them here, are projected around them. So I was also looking at meditation, because as I said, a lot of people who meditate and then try my interactive artwork seem to produce these much bigger waves or more deeper and stronger theta patterns. So meditation and auto-hypnotic exercises are targeted to produce states of hypnagogia associated with theta waves and entoptic hallucinations. Drugs which naturally drive theta waves in the brain are called hypnotics. So through the research into entoptic imagery caused by mental imbalances and entheogens, it became clear that there are certain structural similarities to be found in entoptic imagery as experienced by many individuals and through many different forms of induction. So again, these form constants. Here's one of my heroes, Hans Berger. He kind of created the EEG signal. He developed it so we could have the skull intact on a human, so moving away from animal research, and discovered the alpha wave. We have from the Burden Institute in Bristol, Dr. William Greywater, my main hero, who then took that research of Berger and then developed all the frequency bandwidths such as theta and so on, and was also the first person to ever make cerebral music, which he debuted on Desert Island Discs in 1961. And there's no archive recording, sadly, of that, but as a neuroscientist making the first brainwave music, I'm incredibly jealous and in awe. So Geisen and William Burroughs worked together a lot. They shared a symbiont mind, they described it. So this collaboration, it led to their collage and tape splicing, cut-ups, fold-ins, all these early multimedia montages, this furious kind of inspirational creative flow that they got from the waves of the dream machine stimulating more theta. And Dr. William Greywater's book, The Living Brain, possibly influenced their development of the dream machine because it was describing this flicker. Dr. William Greywater was working with strobes, they're working with dream machines and taking a lot of hash, shall we say. So here they are, they're two minds working together. So Burroughs also famously was a Yahweh explorer, and he had a fascination with MOI inhibitors such as telepathine, which he discovered in Amazonian sacramental decoctions. So he wanted to take anyone apart and rebuild them to your taste, and you can certainly see how these experiences influenced his writings, such as The Larval Beings in Naked Lunch. He also recorded his hallucinations, much like a ship's log. Here's the wonderful Ian Somerville. Sadly, didn't live very long, but he is the mathematician that did all of this, which brought us the amazing dream machine. So for anyone who wants to create their own, the templates are out there. I can share you one. You can make one from scratch if you want to enjoy all of this part. I've got a laser cut one, so it's just a little bit more durable, but ultimately, this is it unrolled. This is the amazing template that allows you to enter an alpha theta state just through a light bulb inside with your eyes closed. And these are some of the collages that Burroughs and Geisen came up together. This is the Third Mind from 1965. So with their fold-ins, their dream fragments, permutated poems like Junk is No Good Baby, all of this was made around the time they were spending together in the Beat Hotel in Paris. And this is a self-portrait by Brian Geisen, who was also famously a calligrapher and printmaker. So this is rolling out very much the dream machine-looking template into his art. A little bit more there. And a rather futile, but interestingly, interior decorated dream machine, because you're going to have your eyes closed, no one's going to see that. But another weird one, here's a giant one. This was in the Parasol Gallery in 2014. So it was permanently on, neon strip lights in the middle, so you could experience it in ambient daylight, better at dusk. Here is the light I use. This is a Pandora, so it's a combination of 12 white lights, but of course, 90% of us see anything except white. We see colours. A few participants have recently described to me amazing shades of grey. I didn't want to look alarmed when they didn't describe any colours, but that's led me to now realise I want to research what it could mean if you don't experience any colours whilst you're being stimulated by this amazing lamp with different wavelengths, different stroboscopic patterns. Here's the software for the Lucia, which I was exploring originally. And this is the software for Pandora, so we can adjust the frequency oscillations, the speed, the duration. You can customize your own programs. It's very simple to configure your own light intensity. And for measuring and quantifying it, I use a device which I've been currently making myself in Bournemouth called a brain machine, but I've been working with this for about 20 years. And it allows us to wear a portable device on a lanyard with a head sensor with stereo, so left and right electrodes, and pick up the signal in the moment. and the software is bespoke for it. So if these are areas you'd like to see more about, there's a little bit of information. I'm just getting towards the slide where I'd like you to experience a little bit of what I did at the weekend, and it's in very low lighting. This is inside the installation where your brain waves are monitored and sonified. Because your eyes are closed, you don't get to see your brain, but you're going to hear your brain waves response in a changes and modulated soundtrack that I've provided. So this is from Ugly Duck this weekend, last weekend. Oh yeah, it's a time lapse. So what was happening there was if you produced beta waves, you were rewarded with stories. And if you then paid attention to those stories, these were stories from previous participants about what they'd seen, you would then probably proliferate more beta waves and possibly get stuck in a loop. But if you just ignored the voice, let yourself go, breathe deeply, you could go into the light more, generate more theta and alpha and delta, and you would be rewarded with all sorts of other sounds such as Wells Cathedral, cycling through cathedral cities, a field recording of more of an interesting journey. So afterwards people would tell me what they heard, and then they'd also tell me what they saw, and that's what's most interesting. So this is the software I use, this is IBVA, and if anyone would like to know more about it or have an idea for some research, please get in touch with me, because as artists in residence in the Department of Psychology here, I'm open to new ideas and I want to widen the participation of the scientists. So thank you very much for your time, and I'll speak to you all soon on the panel.